Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wimpy Studio, and today I'm here with a brand new video for you guys. We are going to be doing a new episode of the Zooey Mom podcast. We are going to be talking about Diary from a Kid, Book 13, The Meltdown. I'm here with my friend Akshay. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me on.
So we are, Akshay has officially joined me on for co-host, and we are going to be talking about The Meltdown, Wrecking Ball. We'll be doing our official ranking together in a few weeks, and then we'll talk about the movies. So a lot more Dive from a Kid content to cover, and we're still going to have like Rattler's book coming in the spring. So now's the perfect time, I think, to finish this stuff up because we're going to be getting at least two new books. And I'm not sure about the animated movie slash series. I'm not sure that might not be until 2022, but still we're gonna get at least two books in 2021.
Right.
So, okay. So The Meltdown. This came out in October 2018. This is the 13th book of the series. Pretty much I'll read the back of it and then we'll talk about our overall thoughts. So when snow shuts down Greg Heffley's middle school, his neighborhood transforms into a wintry battlefield. Rival groups fight over territory, build massive snow forts, and stage epic snowball fights. In the crosshairs are Greg and his trusty best friend Riley Jefferson. It's a fight for survival as Greg and Riley navigate alliances, betrayals, and warring gangs and neighborhood meltdown. When the snow clears, will Greg and Riley emerge as heroes, or will they even survive to see another day? So this almost sounds like an adventure, almost like a almost like a fantasy. What are your overall thoughts of The Meltdown?
So I think when I first heard about the book before it got released and we had the plot, I thought it would be like a repeat of Cabin Fever, especially considering the previous book was like more or less a repeat of The Long Haul. But when I actually read the book, it had the theme of Cabin Fever, but it was a completely different story than Cabin Fever. And it brought back a few things that we didn't see from the first book, like the safety patrols.
Yeah, I feel like this book, if I'm gonna say, it was a fun classic Wimpy Kid book. I mean, I think if we're comparing this to The Getaway, this felt more fun Wimpy Kid than
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. And I think that and I think that we'll go ahead and talk about specifics. So, as far as like the beginning of the book, first of all, I want to talk about the neighborhood. And we know that Greg Heffley lives in the neighborhood. We know that Riley lives near him, but we haven't heard much about like the other parts of the neighborhood. And they did a really good job of explaining the other parts in the neighborhood and how will these people come back again? I don't know. But, I think it was cool how they brought in, like the neighborhood people coming together. And I thought it was a really fun story. And I'm glad that they did it.
Yeah, and another thing is that the something when Greg is describing the people in his neighborhood, it really opens up about his character because he knows every person by their flaws, not by their successes.
Yeah. Well,
That's one thing we notice.
yeah, that's Greg Heffley. And like I think this book, I'm not sure, like as far as like this as like a repeat to Cabin Fever we can talk about for a second. I don't think it was as much of a repeat as like for example the deep end to the other road trip books. I think that they did a good job of making a different story. It was definitely almost like an adventure plot line, in my opinion. Like the Rally Jefferson's Awesome Family Adventure, except with a snowball fight, and it still had those like few other um like aspects to it. But one part I really thought was funny. It was towards the beginning of the book, and pretty much they have this like cultural fair project. I've done one of these before, and what's really funny about is that Malta is Greg's country, and he got all the facts wrong. And what I thought was really funny is that his someone's kid's parents were from Malta, and that was it. What do you think about that? That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean that was a pretty cool touch. That was a pretty funny touch to the book. And how to say I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting him to just get away with it and just get an A on the project because I before reading this book I'd never even heard of the country Malta. So how would the teachers know about that country? So I thought they would just be like, "Oh, nice project," and then give him an A. This was completely not seen at all. I didn't see it coming at all.
Yeah. And like this is like I couldn't have missed like the projects, like the fun projects. I feel like after this book, and one we haven't seen ever since the early books, we haven't like really seen like the struggles of school. So they did touch on a little bit on that the struggles with school. Another funny thing I thought personally was they go to Greg's grandma's house and it turns and they get to like dry up and then his mom comes down and scares them. And it's like an awkward situation because they're trying to warm up with like the dryer, and then the mom is doing the laundry. I thought that was pretty funny too. A lot of funny moments in this book if we're talking specifics, but we can kind of go ahead and get into like the overall snowball fight aspect. I thought it was fun. I mean, as far as like the repeat to the cabin fever, I guess going back to that, I don't think it was as much of a repeat. But did you like the aspect of like the snowball fight and like winter fight and that kind of thing?
Definitely, definitely. It was a very fun touch, and it was very descriptive. It had a lot of imagery in it, and it was very fun to read. The thing I mainly liked about it is that it differentiated itself more from Cabin Fever.
I thought it was a very fun story, and I gotta say, it was like a classic adventure, and I'm hoping that there's like more of these like in the stories to come. I will say that I do kind of get where the repeats are coming from. Like the idea of it might have been a little bit like stolen from it, but I thought even like if we can talk about the cover for a second. So the cover I think is really really nice. We
It
have
had the two shades.
yeah, the meltdown is like ice. And like it's purple and blue. And I think that now the later books are like doing like multicolors, and I'm pretty impressed with like this cover in particular. It's one of my favorite covers. And like I think that Greg is like just great, even like being as a snowman is obviously pretty funny. I think he did a really good job with this cover. And while his story has not been as good, he his definitely his covers have improved, I gotta say. Would you agree?
Definitely. I mean, after the Getaway, this was the first book where the cover actually started changing. But the Wrecking Ball was completely different, and on the deep end, it's just taking it to a new level. So, I this is the first book where we started to see cover changes.
Mm,
I guess we could say we've been seeing them since Double Down, but Double Down and the Getaway were literally only like the spine, the alternating color on the spines in the Double Down and Getaway. Those were the only two things that changed. But here was the main change because we had two shades on the cover, two shades on the three shades on the spine actually.
yeah.
So this was another change, and then Wrecking Ball to the deep end took it to a new level.
Yeah. Covers have improved a lot over the course of ever since Double Down. I think that he did a really good job with them. So a couple more things going back to the story. I thought that the war aspect was pretty funny. I thought that dumb and like I thought that like the sports were pretty funny. It was like something like that is a very neighborhood thing to do, to have like snowball fights and like kind of like see like it was like a neat adventure. Like I wasn't expecting it to like go as far as it did, but I think they did a good job of like having a snowball fight and exploring it and having some fun with it too. And like having it like be like teased, and then having like his Greg and Rowley like were in this book together, and I thought they were pretty funny together. And I think that Wrecking Ball, which we'll talk about next week, was like really really different. I thought brought a really different aspect to the Wimpy Kid world, and this was like one last almost like fun adventure before things get really like unrealistic. Like we talked about this in the deep end, so yeah. hmm
Yeah, and I gotta say that the books have been getting unrealistic a lot lately. So I don't know if it's more of a fantasy now than realistic fiction because some of the things in the deep end are just too much. But those two unrealistic parts in the book, there's only a few of them, but those moments make up to be a big part of the story in the long run. So that's why it kind of like shifts the genre and it makes us think about what the actual genre of the book could be.
hmm This is something that personally, I think that it is. I was a little bit skeptical of this book going in, like you said. Like it looked like a repeat, kind of. I'm not sure exactly what to think about it, but by the end, I think he delivered a good book. Not, I didn't like it as much as The Getaway per se, because The Getaway to me is like a classic, even though it's a later book. I think that it would say if I were going to be talking overall grades now, I am going to give it an A minus. What about you?
Yeah, probably A minus two. The only reason I'd be taking away points is because um some parts were really unrealistic, and in this book, like towards the end, but it wasn't like too drastic. Like um one part of the book, Greg's dad was talking about how they used to do snowball fights back in the day, and at first I didn't believe it. It seemed too unrealistic to me. And the part that like kids in this generation are doing snowball fights the way kids in the last generation did, that felt like a tiny unrealistic to me. But other than that, great book.
Yeah, it was a great book. I thought that he delivered a good idea, and I think I am giving points away. It is a little bit of a repeat, and I wouldn't say it's like the most like wonderful idea that he's ever done. But he came up with an idea, he stuck to it, and he delivered a great, like fun little adventure and kind of like fantasy a little bit. And I mean
Yeah.
that I was laughing, had some good jokes too, I gotta say, compared to like as far as like they weren't really classic jokes, but I thought they were still funny. And one more thing, the pizza shop that was delivering here, and I think that with this book, they took some interesting themes and combined them together, but like they still had things like the school project, for instance, which is classic Wimpy Kid. So I think they put everything together and put it into one, and they made like a really good book out of it.
Yeah, and I agree on it, and it really kept the Wimpy Kid name. And but by after the 12th book, everyone thought the series was gonna end, and everyone thought. Remember, before this book came out, everyone thought Greg would die at the end.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
but that never happened.
yeah.
But
Like
even if Greg did die, it would be a good ending to the series.
that would,
It,
I
it,
mean,
it was.
yeah, it would have been upsetting, but it's not like Greg Heffley is like he's really selfish, so you never know. You never know what might be funny or not.
Yeah,
Okay. So yeah, I think that they delivered. I think this is like the last like no
realistic fiction book that
real.
can actually like fully be realistic fiction.
Yeah,
Like a
yeah.
realistic fiction book, in my opinion, it has to be consisted of main events, the main event in the book being able to easily be replicated in real life without a lot of equipment.
Yeah, yeah.
Like just people themselves should be able to replicate it, or whatever was being used in the book. We should easily be able to replicate it in real life, and
hmm
it could be an actual scenario. That's what makes a realistic fiction book. But again, in the recent two books of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series, that has not been apparent as
hmm
much.
Yeah. Like Wrecking Ball, I thought Wrecking Ball was good. I thought that it was unrealistic, and then the Deep End I thought was not as good and it was unrealistic. But this book, I thought it was the last realistic. Well, there's still like a few iffy things when it came to kind of like a repeat from Cabin Fever, like we've been saying. I think that he still delivered a great book. So anything else you want to say before we close?
Nothing much. I think I delivered all my points.
hmm
Again, it's a good book. I recommended you read it. You guys read it.
So next week we'll be talking about the last book that we need to talk about, core book, and that is the Wrecking Ball, and then we're gonna do
Rushing Ball. Yep.
where we talk about the extras, now including the movie diaries and a few other things. So that'll be the next 2 weeks, kind of like a map out. So
So far, there's like I think there's 7 extras that we know of.
yes, yeah,
Yeah. So those 7 extras are the Do-It-Yourself book, the movie diary, the next chapter, the special Cheesiest edition, and then the fifth one is Diary of an Awesome Friendly Kid, and then Raleigh Jefferson's Awesome Friendly Adventure, and then Raleigh Jefferson's Awesome Friendly Spooky Stories.
yeah, yeah. So um, yeah, and then we'll also be doing a ranking, and then we'll be all caught up until the movies. And then once we get into after we're done with the movies, I mean, probably like by the time we're done with the movies, we'll probably have enough content to do and we might like do like several podcasts on Rally's books so we can spread them out, have enough podcasts to last until we come up with another idea. Because I think that in between books being released, it's kind of hard to come up with podcasts when you've already released everything. So we'll just have to wait and see what we'll do with that. But that's all we want to say. So Akshay has a channel down below called Real Time Fun where he talks about Wimpy Kid and tech videos, and I'll link
Yep.
in the description below. Um, Yeah, so you can comment down below your feelings on the Meltdown. This is one that I did not review on my channel, so we're back to talk about it. So anyways, I want to thank everyone for watching my studio. Akshay, thanks for joining me. Like, comment,
Thanks for having me on.
and your post notifications so you never miss a video. Thanks everyone for watching, and bye.
Bye.